INFJs are not weird, we're neurodiverse. Now, I wanted to put INFPs in that title too, but whenever I put INFJs and INFPs in a title, it gets too long. So if you're watching this video, please know I'm not just talking about INFJs, I'm also talking about INFPs because everything I'm about to say really does apply to the INFJ personality type and the INFP personality type. Both are neurodiverse. I've worked with hundreds of both types. I'm a writing coach who works with INFJs and INFPs on writing issues, but I also work with them on life issues, intuition, creativity, relationships. Yes, a lot of people say it's really weird that you're a writing coach and you work with people on relationships, but that's what happens with INFJs and INFPs. There is no area of life that's in its own little compartment by itself and doesn't affect all the rest of the other areas of our life. So if you are an INFJ or an INFP, your relationships do affect your writing. Your creativity affects your relationships. Both of those areas affect how you show up in the world. This is true of everyone to a certain degree, but it's really true for INFJs and INFPs. INFJs and INFPs tend to struggle in society. That is a truth. And if you are an INFJ or an INFP, you already know this. Life can be hard growing up. Life can be hard as an adult. You tend to just struggle with everything. Writing and creativity, your life purpose, feeling connected to your truth, feeling like you can speak your truth to other people, feeling like you can be your real self and not hide who you are in the world. Most INFJs and INFPs feel alienated, alone, and like there is no place for them. I have definitely been there, as I'm sure you have as well if you're watching this video. It's a very hard, dark place to be. However, this is what most INFJs and INFPs don't know. You are not the problem. That's very important because most of us internalize all that experience, that dark, hard, difficult experience of growing up, being an adult as an INFJ or an INFP, as something's wrong with me. I am the problem. You are not the problem. You are a neurodiverse creative. That comes with a whole package of stuff. So what this means is that you don't think like other people. You don't feel like other people. You don't see reality like most other people, and you don't experience life like most other people, right? So your experience of reality in life, it's totally different than it is for most other people. But most INFJs and INFPs, we try to force ourselves into this little box, the box of what society says is good and right. This is the way you should be, even though it doesn't fit. It does not fit for us, and it never has. And if you're an INFJ or an INFP, you know what I'm saying. This results in us feeling cut off from ourselves, cut off from our intuition, cut off from our creativity, and trying to use mainstream methods that don't work for us and make us feel badly about ourselves, whether that's going back to school and getting an MFA, or buying some crazy organizational system that's supposed to help us get control over our lives. So we do this because we're scared that if we don't take steps, if we don't do something that addresses this problem that we think is us, it's going to be too late for us. We're never going to get it. We're never going to get this thing called life. We're never going to write our book. We're never going to create our art. I've heard so many INFJs and INFPs say, you know that quote about dying with your music inside of you? Well, that's my biggest fear, that I'm going to die with my music inside of me. The reason that this mainstream box doesn't fit us, the reason that getting the MFA doesn't work, buying the organizational system doesn't work, all of these different plans for self-improvement that we embark on, they don't work, is because we are neurodiverse. And the primary way of getting things done in society actually goes against that. It does not work with our neurodiversity, it works against it. One of the big instances of this is how creativity is approached in mainstream society. When mainstream society is talking about creativity, what they are really talking about is conscious creativity. So conscious creativity, it's what you see in schools and workplaces. If you've ever been in a school or you've ever had a job, you're actually very familiar with conscious creativity. Conscious creativity is brainstorming, troubleshooting, it's problem solving. Conscious creativity uses the intellect and works in the mental space to identify problems and solve them. So INF types can do this. INFJ types can do this. INFP types can do this. We can show up at the work meeting. We can show up at school. We can show up in our student group. We can get the assignment done. We can brainstorm and troubleshoot. We can solve problems. However, it's not our primary strength. Because we are neurodiverse, it is not our primary strength, and it tires us out after a while. If we use it too much, or if it's the only way we're trying to work our creativity, it will really exhaust us after a while. And if we try to apply it to our own art, our own writing, and our own life, we end up tired, discouraged, and defeated. Because we are neurodiverse, this means we operate from a different kind of creativity. INFJs and INFPs, we use something called unconscious creativity. This means that we receive visions and messages from outside of this reality. We form connections with characters, if we're writing fiction, connections with characters outside of this reality. We are able to energetically travel to the past and the future, almost a form of time travel, and we can get information from either location. We are at home in the dream world. We are at home on the soul plane, and we can also go to both of those locations and get information as well. This goes without saying, but this is an entirely different way of experiencing creativity in life than the mainstream. So once you understand this, once you understand that you are an INFJ or you are an INFP, you are neurodiverse, you are highly sensitive, you are highly creative, you are not the average bear, you are not the average person, you are very, very different. And you don't use conscious creativity as your default. That's not your primary strength. Your primary strength is unconscious creativity. Once you understand that, you can start working with your neurodiversity to open your creative channels, to strengthen your trust in life, to deepen your connection with your own intuition. This is what I'm teaching in my new class. I have a new class. It launches day after tomorrow. Creative Consciousness for INF writers, also known as Creative Consciousness for INFJs and INFPs. I do really want to stress that if you're a writer, this is a great class for you. However, you do not have to identify as a writer for this to also be a great class for you. This is for INFJs and INFPs who know they are creative, who are very interested in the creative life, who feel very drawn to art and music and beauty and writing, whether that's creating writing on their own or just reading it. If you are that type of person, this is a class for you. We're going to be learning about how to transform our belief systems about writing and creativity and life in general, how to dissolve the creative blocks and fully open our creative channels, how to figure out what's going on with us and life. What are we afraid of? What's holding us back? What's the deepest piece, really? That piece that you know is there and you've known it's there for years, but you can't quite put your hands on it. You can't quite put your finger on it. You can't quite say what it is or why it's blocking you. That's what we're going to find in this class. So as I said, registration opens day after tomorrow. It's only open for 5 days. I'm not teaching this class again. People always ask me and they say, why don't you do repeat classes? The truth is I get bored with repeat classes. I'm always on to something new. I've done, I think maybe 20 classes at this point. I've never done a repeat class. So I'm not teaching this class again. So if you want in, now is the time to get in. Please send me questions about the class if you have them. If you want to know how much it costs, what time of day it's going to be held, what's the deal with the recordings, what are the topics we're going to cover, anything, please send me your questions at lauren@laurensapala.com. Also, please subscribe to my channel. If you're like, well, maybe this class isn't for me, but I'd like to get more helpful videos on being an INFJ or being an INFP and, neurodiversity and intuition and creativity and writing and all this kind of stuff, please subscribe to my channel. I really do try to put out helpful content for introverted intuitives who have such a hard time in life. And I say that from a personal place because I struggled for years and years, really, in my life thinking something has got to be wrong with me because whatever's going on with everyone else, that's not going on for me, and I'm just a complete weirdo. So that's really why I create this kind of content and do the work I do. Like I said, if you have questions about the class, please send them my way. I really hope I see you there. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'll see you next time.